Hello and good evening to the live streamers. So, I hope everyone's very well in the stream. Everyone is very well in the chat. Hope you can hear me. I've been having some technical problems tonight, so bear with me. Novara Media stream just ended. Okay, that's cool. Hi, Robin. Hi, Crummy Point. Hi, Giorgio. Hi, Gareth. Hi, QA Library. Hi, Richie. Hi, Lenny. Hi, Billy. Billy from North of Ireland. Very good. Hi, Ria. Hi, Mrs. VSN. Hi, Robert. Hope you're all very well. So I'll let some more people come in onto the chat before I go into the topic for tonight. There's a lot to talk about tonight. So let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. Hi, Electronic Freak. Lockdown Ireland. Yes, Ireland is now under lockdown, just like here in Italy. North Carolina is in full stay-at-home order. Doesn't bother me as the country I live in is under 1 or 2 days now. Hello? Brexit Central, hi. Kevy, hi everyone. Hi George. Excuse me, I have a bit of a cough tonight. I've just had a glass of wine, and it's quite strong, this wine, so excuse me if I slur some words. I'm not used to drinking. I've been off the booze for a while, so even just one glass of wine gets me a bit tipsy. Loud and clear, that's great. Okay, so 3 billion people under lockdown worldwide. That's, I was just speaking to someone before this, and I was talking about how if you just imagine 3 or 4 months ago, how life was so different. I suspect Johnson having COVID-19 is fake news. No, I think he has it. Maybe he's isolating in a fridge at the moment, but wine is an essential, yes. Pharmacies have you waiting outside. GP asks you to email your prescription request. Same thing happening here. Giorgio, you're probably in Italy, yes. So, or maybe you're in the UK, but you're Italian. But where I am, yeah, it's the same thing. I went to the pharmacy just before the lockdown, and they had a maximum of 5 people per to enter, and then just recently they reduced it down to 1 person only one per person. You're Irish and you're not used to drinking. That's why they kicked you out. That's right, Christoph. I'm out of training. Northern Ireland, okay. So also in Northern Ireland there's a complete lockdown. I ran out of mixers drinking neat whiskey. 12-year-old, wow, good. Late Varadkar just announced further restrictions on movement. So here where I live, we're allowed to move about 200 meters from our homes. So it's still quite serious. And unfortunately, I just read today that the numbers of Italians who have died has started to rise again. So there was some hope when we saw some numbers declining. It had gone up to about 700 and something, and then it declined down to 600. And then today it's gone back up to 970 or something like that. So not a good sign. Hi, Frank. Boris Johnson isolating in a ditch, or in a ditch within a fridge. So this live stream I started a little bit earlier than usual. What you drunk, Max? Cheers. A Sicilian wine. So my wife got it in the supermarket the other day, and it's quite good. Good evening, Bob. Maximum 2 kilometers. Okay. So the UK government missed an important email. Once again, Brexit rules. The idea that, we have this opportunity with the European Union to order these ventilators, and we decided not to. I wrote on Twitter that I think Boris Johnson didn't want to order these ventilators with the European Union because he didn't want to piss off the Brexiteers. It's like, do I choose saving people's lives, or do I choose not pissing off Brexiteers? And he chose the latter. Lewis, hi. I hope you and your loved ones are well. We're all very well. I was suffering from cabin fever on day 2. I don't know what day we're at the moment, but it's quite far in. But I'm still suffering from cabin fever. Today I managed to get out. We got out for a bit of a walk, but it is quite it's quite boring. Anthony C, hi, welcome to the stream. Great to have you back. Vodka and cranberry juice. Sounds interesting. His base mainly sadly died because he doesn't want to order them. What do you make of the Tories voters clapping the NHS, expressing their love for it? Yes, this just made me... So I began to write something on Twitter about this, and then I had to delete the comment before I finished it because I was extremely angry because, you have these people cutting the NHS to the bone for 10 years and then clapping for the workers, clapping for the staff. I was disgusted. I didn't know what to say. It's disgusting because you have... I actually, at the end I wrote, it's a bit like, what was it? The guy who decided how many lifeboats should be on the Titanic, clapping for the staff, for the crew, loading the passengers into the lifeboats at the end after the crash. It's disgusting. The idea that you have a government who has completely ignored the needs of the NHS for years and then are out clapping. It's one thing the Prime Minister doing it, but it's, voters, people who voted for this, voted for the Conservatives, who have a long history of cutting services, not providing the sufficient funding for the NHS, and then people voting for them and then clapping for the workers. How's it going? I'm screwed. I'm in lockdown due to 2 underlying health issues, but 2 of my helpers are not allowed out due to being near a positive person. Have you been tested, QA Library? Or it's just you have 2 underlying... I'm so sorry about that. And you need your carers. See, this is another issue that that isn't brought up in the media. There are many people who need care assistance, and the care assistants are afraid to get near them because they're afraid that they may be infected. And maybe the care assistants are infected and there's a risk that they would spread it to the people that they're caring for. There needs to be testing done. I talked about this on Twitter, how there needs to be a massive amount of testing. What happened in Germany was that they tested everyone, or as many people as possible. Anyone who started to show signs was tested, and everyone who had come into contact with that person was tested. They were isolated, and you were able to treat people before the symptoms had got worse. So many people recovered. So that's why you see that. That's why you see a huge number of people in Germany have been infected, but the death rate is very low because they get tested, they're infected, they're tested, and they're treated as soon as possible. It's not left on the long finger, in a sense. Hi, Andrew. Hi, Rosabella. Who gets scandalized and why? David. Hi, David. Anthony C. Do you think Boris is ashamed for being so ignorant about the virus and all the bullshit about washing hands to happy birthday while he was shaking hands? No, I don't think he's ashamed. I don't think he's actually ashamed of anything. Considering he has lied about so many things over the years, I don't think he's ashamed. He might be a little bit embarrassed, but not ashamed. Turns out a case of lager is a cure for the lockdown blues. But you have Glasgow Kiss, welcome to the stream. Hi Mark Franks. Hi Ross. Is a cure for the blues, but then the next day you have a different problem. First time here, great to hear everyone. Welcome Tom. Welcome to the stream. Hope you enjoy it. This is the plan for Germany. End of April, go from national lockdown to selective isolation, where we need to increase testing from 500k to a week to now to 2 million a week. That's a huge task, but it does make sense. If you can isolate certain areas, then you can allow the economy to return, and people need to work again. But it has to be completely controlled. I think if you can do that, you can be successful. We can't forget how important the economy is. Of course, it's not the priority, but it is important. The police here are in their boat on the Thames River, playing Monty Python songs as driving up and down. Well, that's nice. It reminds me of the Spanish police playing the guitar. I don't know if you guys had seen that. If you haven't, I may show it later on. Our old friend Mike Graham had a phone in on socialism not being the way forward. My old friend Mike. Thank you, Glasgow Kiss. Yes, there's no super chat, unfortunately. YouTube demonetized my channel, so if you'd like to send a donation, that'd be greatly appreciated. Wow, we're up to 109 viewers. Please hit the like button. It helps the stream, if you don't mind. That'd be greatly appreciated also. On your video earlier, you questioned why a parts driver's job would still be working, because it's critical. It's a support industry for essential industries. Okay. The Sun said on YouTube the PM tests positive, at least hasn't reacted, hasn't reached his Johnson. Test is positive. I was like, tests? No, test is positive. And did you see the tweet from Donald Trump, who says we need tens of thousands of vibrators, and then he deleted the tweet, but some people actually screenshotted, and it was then he changed it to ventilators. But in Donald Trump's case, maybe it would be better vibrators. Does anyone actually believe that half of the population is and has been affected in the UK? Oxford research. I don't know about half the population, but I think it's getting close to that. Do you believe Dominic Cummings is 47 years old? He looks like a stone's throw from 60. Yeah, 47. My God, no, he looks in his 50s anyway. Doesn't look well, and he's never looked quite well. He's a quite a strange appearance. Shameful that there was a UK modelling exercise years ago regarding the effectiveness of the NHS in our response to the pandemic. The results were ignored. We could have been as prepared as South Korea. Yeah, it is one of these things where, in the same way that we normally treat fire drills. Yeah, okay, we get up, we walk out, and we don't actually treat it as something important. I think now we're going to start to see things being treated a bit more importantly. I hope. Why did you get demonetized? Only for Corona videos? No, it wasn't about Corona videos. It was about, I think YouTube are quite ambiguous about this, but not so transparent. But I think I was demonetized because I had uploaded a video, then I removed the video and uploaded this more or less the same video again, and I don't think YouTube were happy about that. Cotton Cat, welcome. UK will source ventilators from British companies like Dyson, which has moved to Singapore. This whole mess with Dyson. So Dyson are not a company who specialize in ventilators, but there is a British company, GMT, I think it's called, who make ventilators. But GMT haven't donated to the Conservative Party. They're not arch Brexiteers. So many people are saying that it's probably because Dyson was a supporter of Brexit or a supporter of the Conservative Party. And for that reason, that's why they got the contract. Hello, Nevin. Hi, Hank. Calendar recipients. USA first country with over 100,000 COVID patients now. Hope my family there is doing well. Fingers crossed for the people in the United States. I think there's so many things happening in the United States. You have Donald Trump, who doesn't understand the problem. And I'm very, very angry with Donald Trump because I saw a video today where he was talking about we're spending, we bought 5.5 or 55, I don't remember how many millions of masks, and they throw them away. The way he said it, yes, we're giving these masks to doctors and then they throw them away, not understanding that the doctors can't continually use the same mask. They have to use it and throw it away. That's normal procedure. The same reason that doctors don't continually use the same gloves. They use one set of gloves on a patient and then they throw them away to reduce or to eliminate cross-infection, cross-contamination. Donald Trump was saying, yeah, maybe we can wash them or sanitize these masks. This is insane. He doesn't understand what the hell he's talking about. And he's trying to give advice to the medical community. I would prefer Donald Trump just to shut the fuck up. Sorry, excuse my French, but it's just really insane. It's really infuriating because he has no understanding what he's talking about, and he's standing there talking crap all the time, criticizing the effort that he called until recently a hoax, until he recently called a scam by Democrats or an attempt by Democrats to impeach him. And now he's calling it the Chinese virus. And now he's anything to blame someone else for his own shortcomings. There are a lot of questions to be answered around Dyson contract. Current suppliers nowhere near capacity and should have been priority. If the current suppliers weren't able to deal with it, then it should have been a group effort. Said, okay, the current suppliers, Dyson could say, if you want, you can use our factory or you can use our warehouse, or we'll provide you the space you need. We can provide you with some of the know-how or the staff, or it could have been many different ways to deal with it. A simple meeting could have ironed out a lot of the problems, but that was decided by number 10 because he's a cheapskate con artist. He's all about money, saving it for himself. Yes. In the US, we have the least competent leader in the world, and somehow made the pandemic all about him. See, this is something interesting about Trump and the pandemic is he can't ignore it. He can't tweet it away. You know, if it's a politician from another country or a celebrity or whatever, he can dehumanize them, get his bots and his followers to attack this person. But this won't work with a virus. A virus doesn't care about that. And a virus doesn't infect people that he disagrees with. It infects whoever it wants to infect. And that's how Donald Trump can't really defeat this virus. Everything he does, everything he uses in his playbook against it isn't going to work. I heard the real reason you got demonetized, Max tried to upload a beta copy of his famous calendar and the censors ruled it as not suitable for YouTube. Damn it, you know it. Developing ICU ventilators, hardcore engineering, which cannot be done in a few weeks. QT required for this kind of equipment is absurd. Small air volume change can kill people. In Germany, even nurses are being positive on corona. Keep working. They change masks though. This whole masks thing, Donald Trump, no understanding. And, if you don't understand something, just stay silent. Allow the doctors to speak. Can you imagine Donald Trump if he was in Chernobyl during the disaster? Yeah, we're going to throw more coal in there. That will heat it up and it'll burn itself out. Or we don't need lead, to protect people or vehicles getting near the site. No, we can use paper. I think that'll work. So we can use that instead. Paper is much cheaper than lead. Trump just has to arm nurses to fight coronavirus. I am surprised the Republican response wasn't give the nurses guns. Give everyone guns. A good guy with a gun can defeat a virus. But we laugh and we joke about this, but I'm surprised it hasn't actually been presented. In the UK, you have a max of 5 years in completing your undergraduate degree. They might relax the rule for a year or two. Radiation, I call it the invisible enemy. Although Trump would probably say, yeah, I saw the radiation. Not many people see it, but I saw it. It was beautiful. Yeah, it was beautiful, the radiation. It was beautiful radiation. Good radiation. Big numbers. The Dyson option will have an attachment to clean the velvet curtains in Boris's private IC. Well said, Global Tweak. They solely work on Corona Intensive Station. There were no radiations. It's a hoax made by the Democrats because of the election. Let's nuke the virus. Wasn't he talking about nuking hurricanes or something some months ago? There's a storm arriving, Mr. President. Okay, let's nuke it. Okay. I feel really sorry for the doctors who stand behind him. They're shaking their heads, but then they can't shake their heads because if he sees them shaking their heads, he'll probably fire them. And they know that if he fires them, he'll put someone else there who is not a scientist, who's probably a politician or some fundamentalist religious person who doesn't understand anything about science and will just go, yes, President, you're correct. Yes, President, Mr. President. Good evening. I hope we're all still alive. I hope. Bram asked. That was in China, I think. Okay, I just want to show you this very nice article that appeared in the Guardian. I'll just open it here so I can see a little bit better. It's about how food delivery people, normally young people, are being regarded as heroes in Italy. And I think this is a fantastic thing. So it says, customers tell us to keep the change. Italy's delivery drivers on lockdown photo essay. So someone has taken a number of photos of different people delivering food to their home. So you can see it's all from the same home. I don't know what food that they're delivering, but restaurant, it's probably pizza. So they asked, can I take photos of you to put in a blog or something? And the food delivery people are being regarded as heroes. I think that's a nice story. Also, they're being told to keep the change, because here in Italy, tipping is not a thing. I remember when I lived in Ireland, in Dublin, it was somewhat of a thing. You tipped restaurant staff, or you tip, sometimes for some particular reason, you tip your taxi driver, although they would... I don't know about the UK, but in Ireland, taxi drivers normally didn't pay didn't pay much in tax, so they had a huge income, but most of it was not declared. So they lived quite well. They're quite rich people normally, but we tipped them for some reason. But normally, pizza deliveries guys or restaurant staff would be tipped. But here in Italy, it's not something we do. And now people are actually tipping for the reason, it's not a very good reason, but people don't want to reach out and touch the person delivering the food. So they leave the money on maybe near the gate or near the car or whatever, in order for them to take it and not have to touch the other person. So they're saying, look, keep the change, or they're saying, isn't it a nice thing that you're doing this for me in this moment where I can't go out, I can't go to the restaurant, so you bring in the food to us, and this is a nice response. Okay, just go back to the comments. No fair. Food delivery people here in the UK are always munters. Munters? I don't understand munters, killer. You'll have to translate that for me. How are things in your own town, Max? We've just begun rapid escalation by the look of it. William, I went to visit the center of my town today, completely dead. It was like the video I uploaded on the channel maybe it was about a week ago, or more than a week ago. Exactly the same. The restaurants closed, bars closed, shops closed. There are 2 small supermarkets in the town. I might do a video the next time I go into the supermarket. But everything else completely shut. And it's quite sad. It was sad in the sense it's so quiet. It's like deserted. All the shutters are closed because many of the shops have apartments above them, and they were all closed up as well. So it's quite depressing, a little bit depressing. And it's looking likely to go on for probably another month, because we just received today the news that over 900 people died. So I imagine it's going to remain closed, everything under lockdown for another at least 2 weeks, but probably a month. At least until the numbers start to drop, and drop significantly. My sis is in the station, so max 2. But let's not get stuck by this. It's happening. Okay. It's like a graveyard. Yes. Cultural change in Red America. Will communist welfare become okay now for previous rugged individualists? Yeah, I think a lot of people, when they're being laid off, will think, one thing is your factory closes and you say, okay, I've been laid off, I'll go and look for another job. But if everything is closing, if all the factories are laying people off, you can't just say, get up and look for another job. So this idea, normally on the right, is, if you can't find a job, it's probably because you're lazy. This is the ideology of the right normally, and older generations. But now it's not the case. Even if it were the case, I don't believe it's always the case, but even if it were the case, you can just go and find another job. You can't at the moment. Everything is closed. So you need to provide people with some type of assistance. Because if you don't, what are they going to do? They're going to riot, probably. Take away something from someone and they'll be upset. Take away everything and they'll say, well, now I have nothing to lose. And you see what's happening in the US with this 2.2, I think it was, or something like that, $2 trillion bailout. Most of the money is going to companies, large companies, but not to keep staff on, just so that they can rebound somewhat in the stock market, which is not the solution that people need. And the solution that they're actually providing to workers is $1,200 as a once-off payment. But $1,200 is not going to save people after 1 month. What do people do when that $1,200 is gone? Unless they're going to give them another $1,200 later, but I don't know. Is your YouTube actually paying anyone for their work at the moment? Because every YouTuber is saying the same thing. You should all put a $5 in and take them to court. I was very angry with YouTube because they actually demonetized my channel on the day of the lockdown. I was like, okay. If you wanted to hit me where it hurts, you definitely did it right. People in Australia are getting their first taste of unemployment ever. Hopefully this won't be forgotten. Businesses is getting 5 times what the hospital. That's disgusting, Glasgow. Yeah. Like, do the government and political parties not understand that if frontline staff get sick, they're not a limitless resource that you can just replace with other trained doctors and nurses. An experienced doctor takes years and years. If that person gets sick or horribly to say dies, you can't just replace them immediately with someone else. It's not like workers in a factory, and I mean that in no offensive way, or like soldiers on the battlefield. Just you have a reserve. It doesn't work like that, and that's I think something that's not built into many of the models. If the NHS is not just how many beds they have available, but it's also how many staff they have available for the people in those beds. You can have 10,000 ventilators, but you also need the staff to operate those ventilators. And if those staff get sick, you need to find new staff. And as I've said in some of the videos, the UK have instead designed it recently that they don't want new staff, especially people from abroad, who could be trained on how to use these ventilators. All the talk was that Italy, having peaked, looked like false hope. Now, sadly, right again. I actually had made a video, or I don't know if it was on maybe the last live stream, but I was talking about how I believed that Italy would eventually go up to 1,000 deaths per day. I was hoping that I'd be wrong, but I was right, and it seems to be, we're at 970, I think. So the trajectory is pointing towards 1,000. I think what the problem is that it's been dealt with in the north of Italy, where the health system is much better, and now is starting to spread to the south of Italy. Why is that? Well, mainly because, well, not mainly, but partly because when the lockdown began, so there was I think it was a Sunday or a Monday evening, I don't remember which day it was. Wee Scott's dog, hi. Just before the lockdown began, it was the day before, the government and the presidents of the regions, the governors of the regions, had a meeting, and they decided, look, we need to lock down Lombardy, a huge region where Milan is, and parts and other provinces. So the smaller parts of different regions. There are some in the north. We need to lock them down. We need to lock them down now. What happened was some members of the right-wing League Party leaked this information to the media, and then the media ran a story on it. And what happened? People jumped on the next train to leave Milan and Lombardy, and a lot of people who live in Lombardy are from the south of Italy, and they jumped on the next train and went straight down back home to the south of Italy before the lockdown was in place. So the right-wing party basically cut the legs from under the government on this lockdown, and what happened was the next day you have the police and the health service in the south of Italy, trying to deal with the mass of people coming from Lombardy, from Milan, back to their homes in the south of Italy. And the south of Italy doesn't have the capacity, doesn't have the ability to deal with the problems that Lombardy has faced. Like Lombardy is, the hospitals in Lombardy are over capacity. They're collapsing, but it's one of the best healthcare systems in the world. The south of Italy is a different world altogether. They don't have the staff, they don't have the equipment. There have been huge problems over the last number of decades regarding corruption, and there's been a brain drain, of course, over decades as well. So anyone who wants to have a decent life normally leaves the south of Italy because it's much poorer. So they're not in a position to deal with a huge influx of infected people. But we can thank Salvini and his, I don't know who exactly it was in the Salvini's party, but it was allegedly somebody in the League party of Salvini leaked this information to the media. Like I agree with WikiLeaks or leaking information that's important for the public to know, but this was part of national security. This was in the an issue of national security, saving lives. By leaking this information, you put many people's lives in jeopardy for cheap political gains. It was not really because they cared about the people of the south of Italy, especially the League Party. The League Party is a northern party originally, a northern nationalist party. It'd be like the Brexit party leaking information saying that England was going to be locked down and people were leaving England to go to Scotland, and some of them were Scots and some of them were not Scots. It's not a good analogy, but you probably get what I'm talking about. Why was it leaked? What was their plan? I think it was to undermine the government, because Salvini has been continually attempting to undermine the government. The government is the Five Star Movement and the Democratic Party, which is a centre-left party. Same thing in France. 1 million persons left Paris the day before the lockdown. And I understand people wanting to leave, they're desperate, but you create more problems by doing this. The Liga is insulting Italian South for decades. Yeah, Gero, I agree. That's their entire political movement has been about calling people from the South ridiculous names, regarding them as inferior, as subhuman in many cases. And they used they had some information that they could use against the government, and they leaked it to the media and put people's lives at risk, of course. So there was a bit in the news, in the papers, about Atlantia versus Valencia Champions League being a big cause of the spread. Oh my God. What happened to Nigel Farage? he's not usually quiet. I think he has made himself irrelevant. That's probably his problem. And now he's attempting to claw back some relevancy. So I just missed a part of a question. Let me just scroll back up. Do you reckon 1,000 per day is going to be the limit, or is it just going to keep getting worse? 1,000, I think. It seems to be plateauing. So it's been plateauing for a number of. It seems the curve seems to be reaching its peak. So I think it probably 1,000 may be the limit, and then it will plateau for a period, and then hopefully drop. Excuse me. But it's hard to tell, because if the numbers are increasing in the south of Italy, then we're in serious trouble, and those numbers are going to increase. But I haven't seen data to support that. There are numbers in the south of Italy, but it's difficult because when you look at small numbers, it's hard to see a trend. Like in the UK at the beginning, you say if you looked at UK numbers a week ago, you'd say, well, things seem fine. We're not under, there's nothing serious at the moment. But now the situation is becoming a bit more drastic in the UK, especially as we've heard about 2 morgues, temporary morgues, being built. One in Manchester and one in London, I think. This means that the government know something that they're not letting on. And I understand if the government are not giving out all the information regarding the possible number of deaths. We have to remember that the numbers you see are normally deaths related to people who were infected and died from COVID-19. But that does not include people who were rejected from coming into hospital because the hospitals were full. Somebody may have a heart attack, but they can't go to the hospital because the hospital is full. Or people who have symptoms, and during the triage, the doctors say, look, we can't save this person. This person has other problems. They'll have to stay at home. As far as numbers of people who died at home are not counted. So it's just counting numbers, cases in hospitals. Southern Italy, densely populated and ripe for explosion. It has some population centers like Naples and Palermo. Although we haven't seen huge numbers at the moment, but I think that's something to watch. Farage has his own channel, Max. He's like a dog barking at the moon. All movement, longer lockdown. A friend of mine in DHS in Arkansas, she thinks if things keep going like this, there will be riots soon. I think the US is going to be the place to watch because, so I was saying before, you have Trump who doesn't understand or doesn't care. You have a healthcare system that refuses to pay or refuses to treat some people because they don't have insurance. Now, I know it's not legal in all cases, but many people, let's say you're able to get over that and you say, look, you change the law and people, or the law is enforced that you have to treat people. But many people may be afraid that they can't afford the treatment. So the tests are for free. Trump said the tests will be free. He also said the treatment will be free, but the insurance company said, no, the tests only. So let's say the tests are free. But if somebody is afraid that they'll get the test will come back positive, what do? They may say, well, I'll need to get treatment, but I can't afford the treatment. The treatment costs about $30,000 to $40,000. What if you're on minimum wage? You can't afford $40,000. You can't go to the bank and say, look, can you give me a loan for $40,000? Why? Because I'm sick and I might die. So there's a risk you will die and we won't get our money back. No, I'm sorry, we're not going to give you a loan. So under that scenario, would people say to themselves, look, I'm not feeling very well. I could go to the hospital. I'm positive, but maybe I'll survive by just taking paracetamol and just staying in bed. And then what'll happen is these people will get worse and worse. And then eventually they'll have to go to the hospital, and they'll be in a situation where they'll go to the hospital, but they won't be able to be cured. Sorry, a bag fell down here. They won't be able to be cured. Or they'll stay at home with their family and they'll infect their family because you have a healthcare system that doesn't treat people before the situation gets worse. And then you also have the issue of, I think, which is you have the government, the central government, the federal government is not cooperating with the state governments. So you have the governors attempting to do one thing and you have the feds doing a different thing. They're not cooperating. Or you have a situation where you have governors, like in Texas, who think this isn't really an issue. Say, oh, it's not really a big problem. We can ignore it, or I don't believe it's a problem. So if the governor doesn't believe it's a problem, you have a serious issue. But you also have an issue if, like in New York, where the governor does think it's a problem, but he doesn't get the support he needs from the central government, from the federal government, because Trump doesn't seem to think it's important. So everything in the US is pointing down a very dark alley, in my opinion. I don't want to be pessimistic, but I think we have to be realistic. You have a healthcare system that doesn't care about treating people. You have people who are afraid to use it. You have a federal government who doesn't understand it. One of the head of FEMA was interviewed, and he was asked, how many ventilators do you have? He said, we have lots of them. Okay, how many do you have? He wouldn't answer how many they had. He was asked, how many masks do you have for staff? Yeah, we're making lots of them. We're creating new ones all the time. We're churning out lots of them. How many? He wouldn't answer. So if they can't answer how many they have at the moment, it means they don't have enough. We have to read between the lines. So the US, and of course you have parts of the US where there isn't sufficient lockdown because the state don't believe it's important. In the US, a teenager with coronavirus was turned away from a hospital for not being insured. He died. Yeah, I shared about that, Mark, on Twitter. I don't know all the details because I heard somebody replied to me and said, no, they're not allowed to do that. But I think, a doctor has to make a choice. This person doesn't have insurance. Maybe my boss, the administrator of the hospital, say, look, you're allowed to turn away. You're allowed to accept a certain number of cases that don't have insurance. This kid maybe was outside the quota. I don't know. I'm speculating here. But we can speculate. But at the end, he died because he didn't get treated. So for whatever reason, it's not important. Max, have you heard of Event 201? It's a word game scenario that's happening now. Bill Gates was one behind it. Very weird. Sounds very weird. Do you know what the health consequence of COVID pneumonia is? Pulmonary fibrosis yet? We need ventilators for future use for the survivors when the immunity is compromised by winter flu. Yeah, that's a point, Global Twig, that people think that once you recover from it, you're okay. But the evidence points to even recovery means that your pulmonary system is compromised. So people may recover from COVID-19, but then later, if something else comes along or a winter flu, may knock them out. Kill them off, I should say. The drug that gobshite in stuff has been bumming up, is been reported, been selling in USA pharmacies. Numerous people have OD'd on consumed fish tank cleaner. Trump is irresponsible. Yeah, Trump. See, this is a perfect example of Trump not knowing something and talking about it as a way to distract from his own incompetence and lack of doing anything. It's criminal. If you don't know what the chemical is, if you don't know how it interacts. See, the problem here was Trump said there is a chemical being used within certain medicines, and it's showing signs, which some people have said is somewhat true. There is a new medicine being tested and it includes this chemical. But Trump shouldn't be saying these things if he doesn't know the facts. He doesn't understand the bigger picture regarding these. He should ask the scientists to talk about that. But instead he wants to blah, blah, blah. He wants to sound the cool guy, wants to sound, see, I'm the one who's fixing the problems, even though he doesn't understand anything. And then what happens? People who don't know better say, oh, well, Donald Trump said this, we can get this, we can use this chemical. Then they find things for cleaning fish tanks, which include this chemical, and then they overdose on that and died. I think it was the husband died, and the wife is in a critical condition. You know, whatever you can say about Boris Johnson, he hasn't done this. Teenager died of corona because he was refused treatment and sent to a public hospital. He died on the way. So this is the case. You don't have insurance, we send you to the public hospital where it's free, but we're not dealing with you. That's criminal as well. Like I don't know if we should blame the doctor there, because the doctor is an employee. It's the hospital that decides that. I'm just realizing how bad the Ebola outbreak in Africa last year could have been now. Look at it that way, and you could even say we're slightly off lightly. Yeah, we got off lightly. Trump didn't promise to make America number one. He certainly achieved that with a number of cases. Do you think he'll use this in his re-election campaign? I saw 538, I think, or I don't remember the guy who runs 538. Just a moment. Reading some science reports, going through peer review. It looks like 3 versions of the virus. Now they're thinking you may get the virus twice, but data set too small. Oh. Trump is just dribbling half understood technical advice he's been told. How is Trump responsible for idiots drinking fish tank cleaner? See, Trump doesn't understand. Okay, he can't be responsible exactly for people drinking this thing, but if he doesn't understand what this chemical is, then he shouldn't be saying, yeah, it's going to cure people. See, he's latching on to things that. So you can imagine a scenario. A scientist comes in, and Trump says, okay, have you made any progress on, tests or any type of chemicals that we can use, any medicines that say, okay, well, we're making some progress on this molecule or this medicine. And he said, okay, well, what is that medicine? Oh, it's this, and X. And Trump is like, oh, he likes the sound of X. So he goes out on TV and says, yes, X is curing lots of people. Nick Silver. X is curing lots of people. And then what do his supporters do? Or people who don't know better say, well, it must be X. Let's just drink, 3 liters of X. Or eat 5 kilos of X and we'll be okay. But if he doesn't understand what he's talking about, then he should shut the fuck up. Sorry, once again. But it drives me insane. You have someone who doesn't understand what they're talking about, blah, blah, blahing, and this has serious consequences. If I'm talking to my neighbor about how a car works, and I'm not exactly sure what I'm talking about, what's the worst that can happen? But he's the bloody president of the United States. And people are listening to him. And people believe everything he says. Most people, I think, understand he's a liar. But a lot of people listen to him and believe what he says and thinks he's telling the truth. Look at what happened with Boris Johnson. How many people voted for Boris Johnson because they either overlooked the fact that he lies or believe him. A Michigan, USA hospital published their C-19 life and death protocols. The triage model described giving priority to the young over the old in terms of treatment. The old get pain meds and prayers. And that's the first stage. I think it's going, and that triage protocol may change. You're going to see, okay, people who are maybe 20, do they have any other conditions? Okay, they have to die. You're going to have so few ventilators, you're going to have to make very, very difficult decisions. Sarah Jessica Farter, welcome. I didn't say hello before. Did you hear Biden running down Italian healthcare? No, I didn't in the last debate. Joe Biden, I really hope that he drops out at this stage. I hope the party bring him in, sit him down and say, look, Joe, you're not up to the task. Look, let's put someone else there. Even if they don't put Bernie Sanders, the best would be Bernie Sanders, but even if they don't put Bernie Sanders, someone else, anyone else, and say, look, you support them, and then maybe they'll give you a nice retirement home place or something like that. But he's not up to the task. Max, do you think will happen if we find out that China released it as a bioweapon? How will the West respond? I don't know if that's it's a possibility. I don't believe it's a probable, but how would we respond? Would we declare war on China? Who would declare war on China? Would it be just the United States? Would it be the West? Would it be NATO? I don't know how it would work, and it'd be very difficult to prove. But we've gone to war on less evidence, so it's possible. It's not something I would like to see, but it's possible. Is the wish that be led by someone seen as being strong even when they aren't? Yes. There are many reasons for Trump being president. The Democratic Party is one of them. Yes. Okay, I'll just bear with me for a moment, guys. I want to change our view here because I want to look at some of the questions I got on the channel. Just a moment. Remember to hit the like if you haven't already. It helps the stream. So before I go to this, what do you guys think of the situation with Boris Johnson and Matt Hancock? So it looks like Dominic Raab is going to take over as Prime Minister. What do you think of that? I have my worries about that because Dominic Raab has some geography issues. Wasn't he? He didn't understand that Dover was an important port. Damn, I need to change a setting. Just a moment again. Technical issues, of course, tonight. The Queen will become Prime Minister. Dominic Raab, good God, shoot me now. Stefan Molyneux talking to a doctor, and we change channel. Disaster, he's got a sponge for a brain. Cummins is going to love controlling Raab. Raab will only take over if Boris gets really ill. He only has mild symptoms. Where is Jacob Rees-Mogg? Or Mark Francois? Where is Mark Francois at the moment? The Queen calling it Just Eats for a curry, I'm guessing. Allegedly, this was her phone call to Boris Johnson. I was thinking, how old is this telephone? You think she would have some state of the art BT video phone or something like that? No, not some old Cold War phone or something. Anyway. Phil on a different bias said Raab is goring. Sorry, German friends. Or what was the name of the guy who... Donitz. Donitz was the Admiral Donitz who took over from Hitler after Hitler had an accident. Okay, so I'll go through some of these. So I'll bounce between the stream and some of these questions that you guys have written. Mark Francois is climbing Elizabeth Tower during Big Ben. He's been doing it since January. I think I phoned that sex chat line. Waste of time. She's a pensioner, for fuck's sake. It's not steam power. We should test the first ventilator at Boris. Dyson ventilator. Brexit should never have started. Stronger together. Okay, so the UK government unwilling to cooperate with EU because of Brexit dogma, putting Brexit before people's lives, from Julie Hill. Yeah, so I talked about this at the beginning of the stream. The idea that Brexit was more important. Ah, Paul. Thank you very much, Paul. Paul is in the... Sorry, I missed it. Paul, are you on the stream? Please ask a question. I'll answer it immediately. Thank you very much for that very kind donation. Armaches, hi. Max, if Trump reacts to social distancing at Easter, do you think Pence will grow a pair and evoke the 25th Amendment? That would be interesting. I don't know if he's going to really go through with relaxing at Easter. He keeps talking about it, but Trump has talked about many things, but I don't think he'll go through with it. He when Easter arrives, there'll be no mention of it. I see the video of the doctor in Madrid who was saying that they're taking the ventilators of anyone over 65 and giving them sedation until they die. It's very sad. I hoped we'd never get to this stage, but that's what's going to happen wherever you are. I really hope you can sort things out wherever you are, but I'm afraid this is going to be what's going to happen. It's very sad. You know, people over 65, many people over 65 have a long life ahead of them. The Queen is as old as the Hill. She probably still has a 1980s page. Serious, we laugh, but look at the casualty numbers in the UK. Boris and his gang of Brexiteers have messed up. Yeah. No chance of Putin getting infected. Do you see him full biohaz suit? Putin has his head screwed on. He knows. He probably knew about this long before we did. Phil lives an hour from me. I've got family who went to the college he worked at, and it's a pretty big place. He picked a good time to quit and make a living off YouTube. Yeah. God knows when the schools will start opening again. Maybe in September, but then I think there are going to be a lot of restrictions even after the numbers start to drop. You know, even in China at the moment, where the numbers have allegedly gone down to zero new cases within the country, they're still imposing certain measures. Many people are still walking around with masks on, so that's probably going to go on for at least another month. But I don't think we're ever going to really go back to normal. I think there will be a new normal. American number one, dude, always. We finally surpassed 100,000. It's a desperate situation, Paul. I really hope that things don't get... I hope that governors will take control of the situation. And I think if you start to see huge numbers dying, there's a risk for problems of public order, because many people will lock themselves up for a bit. Here in Italy, people are respecting the lockdown, but a lot of people are getting anxious. A lot of people are getting tired of staying at home for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And in the United States, you have an issue where you have a lot of people with guns. And how do you enforce those people to stay at home? You know, here in Italy, we stay at home. We don't want to get a fine. We don't want to be put in prison. The police may have some trouble imposing curfews and lockdown orders in the United States. You know, first couple of weeks, no problem. Second week, later on, is Trump going to bring in the National Guard? Is he going to clamp down? Maybe he'd like to do that. He doesn't seem to be willing to do that at the moment. But it's still early days. But I really hope wherever you guys... I've always said this, wherever you guys are, I hope you're fine. And I hope that wherever the leaders in your council, your state, your region, wherever you are taking the right precautions and making sure that the hospitals, the staff, the law enforcement have whatever they need. It's also important, that members of the police force, if they start to get sick, they're not going to say, okay, we're going to enforce this forever. If members of our staff are getting sick, we're not going to continue with this. And then if you have the police not enforcing something, then what you need is the army. What if the army start to have discipline issues? You're going to have a disaster. How is the food situation in Italy? No problems whatsoever. I went to the supermarket a few days ago. The shelves are completely packed. There was a small shortage of, what was it? I'm trying to remember now. It was a type of bread for burgers. So not exactly crisis situation. But I asked the people in the supermarket, and they said, no, it's just sold out at the moment, but it should be back in a few days. So we haven't really had any issues at all. And QA Library informed me that there is a business transporting huge amounts of goods from different parts of Europe to the UK and to other parts of Europe, and they're doing a huge amount of trade. I don't think there's going to be a food issue really for anyone in any country. At the beginning in the UK, there were some issues of panic buying, but I think most of that has died down. I'm dreaming of a virus-free Christmas. China can't be trusted. The Young Turks on YouTube did a video on draconian law passed in the US that strips a lot of rights. I must check that out. Not a huge fan of the Young Turks recently, but sorry, guys, if I don't respond to your question in the stream, just repeat the question again later, because I may have missed it and I'm not ignoring you. I'm a second year uni student, thinking I'm probably taking a gap year next year before I finish my degree. Don't want lockdown to come back after a month and ruin third year. No. Is heavy in Italy? The Jan William. You mean the lockdown? Is it heavy? Yeah, it is quite. I live in a small town, so I don't know if you had seen my video on YouTube. I uploaded a video recently of my town but it's a very, very small town, and we haven't. We haven't a huge population, but it's completely dead at the moment. And while the police are not doing a lot of checks and controls, there have been some, and I was actually stopped myself. I think it was the second or third day of the lockdown. I had to go to a pharmacy, and I was stopped by the police, and they asked me, where were you going? I said I had to go to the pharmacy, and they asked for proof of that, so I had a receipt, and I showed them the receipt, and they checked the time on the receipt, and it had been a few minutes before. And they asked me where I was from, and where I lived. I always get it's always quite funny when I'm stopped by the police here in Italy, because I'm probably one of the only Irish people within 100-mile radius. So they're always, oh, you're from Ireland, really? Oh, whereabouts? So they're quite curious about that. And then they're like, oh, you live here in Italy? Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, but off to bed, Max. Andrew, okay. Stay safe, Andrew. See you on the next live stream. Have a good weekend if possible. It's difficult to have a good weekend. Paul, do you think this crisis will make your boomers reconsider leaving the EU in the face of potential boomer side? I think there'll be a lot of soul searching going on. I think a lot of people are going to reconsider the importance of being united, especially here. Here in Italy, there has always been a bit of, not always, but somewhat of a bad feeling between Italy and Germany, towards Germany. And I think what happened recently changed that, and I think that's good. So there's an understanding. Look, Germany is actually helping us at the moment. I think it's somewhat of the Euroscepticism. Germany is the big power in Europe, and Germany calls the shots, and Germany tells us how to jump, and we say how high. But I think I'm just reading the tweets, the messages. But I think there's a very, very nice response from Germany, where they took in a lot of cases from Italy, but also from France and other countries, to show, look, we're here to help. It was a huge cost to them, and I don't mean just financially. You're taking in patients who are infected, risking your own staff, risking an outbreak in your country. You're handling it, and there's a risk to your country, your staff, your people, by inviting Italians, French who are infected into your hospitals. And I think that was very noble of them. And I think many people will think about that and hopefully change their minds. Italian cops, you stopped the crazy Irish guy who's moved to Italy too. Myself and my fellow occupational therapy students are all in limbo, as we are in our final year and everything has stopped. Don't know how to can qualify in June, meant to start work in NHS in September. Is it possible to to do the tests online. Do you know if the university has decided that? There must see this. It's important that the universities provide some sort of support at the moment. Okay, we can't do the lectures in person. We do them online. The exams, we'll do them online in some way. Present your thesis to the professor online. There has to be another way. We can't stop everything. I understand we're stopping everything, but some things have to be done another way, because it's important that you're able to graduate, especially for the NHS. You can't say, okay, we're not going to hire any more people because we can't test them. People are surprised that there is not a lot of people with deaths from the virus in Germany at the moment. But I think it's because of the testing. So what did Germany do? They tested as many people as possible. People who were maybe not showing signs tested positive. They were immediately isolated so that they didn't infect other people. While in other countries, Italy, for example, people were not tested. They were treated when they were sick, when they were physically showing signs. But these people had already gone and people had already gone on and infected others. Why the image of the guillotine? Drink water? Because of who I am. I have to thank the kind sir who made that image for me. Just a moment. Germany more active in testing and contact tracing. Yeah, that was another issue, that when they discovered that you were infected, they asked you to create a list of all the people you had been in contact with over the last week or whatever. So those people were tested also, and they created more lists of the people they were in contact with, and those other people were tested also. So you had a complete list of people who were tested. Some of them may have been infected, some of them may not have, but you're able to immediately see and control the numbers, while in other countries we're not doing that. Max, do you follow Dr. John Campbell's channel? I think I do. I think QA Library pointed me in that direction before. You're right about the French patients in Germany. I didn't know that. Yeah, it's a great thing that's happening there. You also see it in the Netherlands. That's great. Hundreds of thousands. Click like, please. Yes, it helps the stream. Wow, we're up to 141 viewers. That's great. I love you guys. Sauerkraut is good for immune system. Well, I have a big jar of sauerkraut in my kitchen, so I may actually have some of that tomorrow. Do you guys like sauerkraut? It's quite a particular taste, but we actually don't eat much sauerkraut. Broken curtain. I hope it's not a broken medical curtain. Everyone is operating online except entirely for undergraduates, and some are stopping rent payments for students on campus. Did the US leaders have shares in companies they wanted to make the tests, and that's why they rejected the German ones and delayed? It could be possible, Mike. Anyone on the chat has COVID-19? Well, we haven't been tested, Mika. So I have a bit of a cough, but I haven't been tested. But I'm not a politician or a celebrity. You know, some of you guys treat me like a celebrity, but I'm not. Unfortunately, I'm not important enough to get a test. I only like champagne craft. Max, you're a legend. Thanks for your bids on NT love from Mara. Thank you very much, Atachi. We love you too. You're a great company. Thank you. Going outside for some immune system. Are you scared of being in Italy, Max? No, I'm not. I'm not scared. Because I haven't been going outside really. Today, my wife and I went out. And we wore some masks. we wore masks mainly to protect other people because we don't feel sick. But it's important that maybe even if you don't feel sick, you may actually be infected. So it's important to protect other people. But I don't feel afraid. There isn't any panic going on here. People are just being very quiet. I just hope it's not going to go on for a long time, because I think the longer it goes on, the worse it will be for people psychologically. I some days wake up and go, okay, I just want to go out. I want to go out. I want to go for a long walk, but I can't because I have to respect the 200-meter limit. Masks or snotbags. But I have to respect the 200-meter limit. And, I live in a small flat. It's about 75 square meters. And we've spent the last week tidying it. Like we have a spare room. It's completely full of rubbish and junk. And we've been spending time. Okay, today we're going to clean this room. Okay, tomorrow we're going to mop the floor again. The day after we're going to do this. The day after, but you run out of things to do, even if you have a lot of things to do. But you eventually run out of things to do. And the day becomes very routine. You have a particular routine. And I'm not someone who likes a routine. I like to be a bit more spontaneous. Older people normally like to have a routine. And I don't feel like I want to be very old at the moment. Somebody wrote, sorry, I missed the comment. Just scroll up a little bit. You're famous in these parts, Max. Oh, thank you. Mika Peck, after 2 or 3 years watching your videos, it's nice to chat with you. Oh, very good. Nice to chat with you too. Politicians and celebrities aren't being prioritized for testing. It's £375 to get tested privately. It's just the ones who can afford it. Boris is getting coronavirus done. I'm doing a jigsaw of the Grim Reaper. Max, do you remember WHO saying masks don't help? Not great advice. It's not that they don't stop you getting the virus, but if you have it, they stop you spreading it. But because I don't know I have it or not, and I don't want to spread it, then it's better to have a mask. So the advice is that it won't stop you from getting it, but it will help stopping you from spreading it. So I think it's prudent to always wear a mask. It doesn't make any. The only negative perhaps of wearing a mask would be is if they're in short supply, then you shouldn't be using it if you don't have to. But there isn't a short supply of masks here, so I reckon staying is hardest on the younger folk. Guy in my office looked distraught over video call today, and we've only been working from home for 2 weeks. I think this is going to create a lot of stress. I know a guy who's working from home, and his kids are at home, and he's attempting to work at home, but it's really, really difficult because the kids need attention. The kids need to, run around, but they can't go outside. They have to stay in the home. So it's very, very difficult. It still is terrible advice. But okay, well, we can agree to disagree, I hope. Donator question, Paul resides. I'm new to the stream, so forgive me if you added this before. What's your impression of Sinn Féin's big win in the Irish election? Sorry, Paul, if I didn't see your question before. Sinn Féin really changed the game in Ireland, because if you remember, or if you're not familiar with it, you had a two-party system basically for the last 70 years, and now you had Sinn Féin come in, and unfortunately for them, they increased their vote a huge deal, but they didn't expect to win so many seats, so they didn't field enough candidates. But there is speculation of another election, but that's actually on hold at the moment because of the coronavirus. But there was talk of having another election because none of the main parties, got enough to form a coalition, and the two main parties refused until recently to go into coalition with each other, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. But today I read that there's a push for some type of government of national unity, and it's looking likely that Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael may actually form a coalition. So that would not be good for Sinn Féin, and not good actually for Ireland, because Ireland needs a change, and you're just going to have the two main parties who have been in power for forever form a new coalition. So I hope that answers your question. But I think if they don't, and we just continue with the government that's in place, and eventually there isn't a general election, Sinn Féin may create enough support, may have enough support to actually become the biggest party and form a government on their own, or perhaps just with some small party joining in a form of a coalition. But it's interesting times. It's, you've had pretty much centre-right parties ruling Ireland for 70 years, 80 years, and then you have a centre-left or almost a socialist party. Sinn Féin are pretty much socialist. Mark, because people are forced to stay at home with their partners that they hardly even know. They can't escape to the pub. And money is a big issue for 90%. I think we're going to see, mind you, the same guy who was distraught had to be sent home 2.5 weeks ago because he came in slightly unwell and developed a persistent cough later on. Okay, thanks, Mac, for tagging me. I think psychologists are going to be very busy when this lockdown finishes, because people are going crazy. I think there are a number of different things. It's almost a case study what's happening at the moment. You have people put together who would normally not be together all the time, maybe with their children, which adds an extra problem. And you have the stress of work where, and what's happening now is you have bosses who are able to completely monitor your work. Before, when you were in an office or whatever, the boss would come around, okay, everything all fine, yeah. You had, you were free in a sense to go and do other things. You could go and have a coffee, you could, chat with your colleague, or whatever. But now, you have a setting on, Teams or Zoom or whatever tool you're using, and it says, look, you're active or you're inactive or you're busy or you're on a call or whatever. And if you leave that on a certain setting, maybe away or something like that, for too long, you get a message from your boss saying, what are you doing? Why aren't you working? You didn't have that before when you were in a physical office, or less anyway. And now, that's going to add a huge amount of stress to people. Oh, I have to be working. But the kids are asking me, can we play this game? Can we do this? Can we do that? I want to go out. I want to play football in the house or whatever. And then you have the partner as well saying, look, I want to go for a walk. I want to do this. I want to do that. It's adding a lot of stress. And a lot of people aren't going to be able to cope. What do you think about the people clapping for the NHS? I have said, I said at the beginning of the stream, I hope anyone who was clapping isn't somebody who voted for Boris Johnson or for the Tories, because the Tories have defunded the NHS for 10 years, and then clapping for the staff is a bit of a punch in the face, punch on the nose. Have you heard about drinking tonic water to cure COVID-19? Um, Alabama State Pandemic Guidance advises denying ventilators for use by people with metastatic cancer, end-stage liver disease, and AIDS. That's very sad. The people who wouldn't be really in a need of a ventilator are not going to get it. I think there was a state, I don't remember which state it was, they were going to ban abortions for the next 6 months or something because they claimed it was a waste of medical supplies. There should be an app where candidates can look up how a company is rated before upon how they treated their staff during the pandemic. Yeah, that would be that would be an interesting table to have, Mark Franks. Why don't we stop clapping hands and slap comments on the head 65 million times for the NHS? At least you have work or are paid at 80%. In Australia, people are thrown onto the unemployment benefit. Camilla was clapping as she would get a break from Charles Demands. We were clapping for medical people who take care of the situation now. Yes, if you're clapping for the medical teams, that's good, but it has to be for them, and you can't say I voted for someone who gutted the NHS, but I'm going to clap for the NHS at the same time. Is this true? It is a true story. It appeared in the New England Journal. The toughest triage, allocating ventilators in a pandemic. And all of this could have been avoided if the federal government were interested in dealing with it. See, this is the problem I have with this whole pandemic as well, the response to it. In China, it began in January. We're now at the end of March. And many governments are still treating it as, well, it's not really a big issue. Some governments are dealing with it correctly, but many are not. And many people are going to die, and many doctors are going to be put into horrible positions where they'll have to say to families, I'm sorry, your dad or your mom, your grandparent, whatever, didn't reach the criteria to survive. Not we couldn't save them because we don't have what they need. It's that they didn't reach the criteria. I'm 21 and I can't wait to be left to die in an ICU because I have mild asthma. It's based on the state's existing 10-year recommendations. So this is not new. This is not something new, QA Library. It's not, okay, we have to make a new law because we're in a desperate situation. This has always been the case. So they never thought, maybe we should buy more ventilators. At least we could put them in storage, perhaps even. Which vet tested Camilla? For my pet's sake, I need to know. Trump is right now explaining why he's not sending enough ventilators to New York. And Trump is the type of person who, the governor of New York would say, look, Trump, you're not doing enough. And Trump would be offended, personally offended. So he would probably get on the phone to FEMA and say, don't send any of them ventilators to New York. Why? Because he offended me. That's the type of person Trump is. If you want the ventilators, you need to kiss Trump's ass. But, kissing his ass will only get so far. It's not, you could kiss it 100 times, but then you didn't kiss it 101, so then he's not going to give you the ventilators. So I don't know how people are supposed to deal with Trump. Donald Trump had a report how to manage an epidemic in 2017, and he ditched it and fired. I remember Obama had a team. Everyone laughed at Michael Jackson for wearing a mask 20 years ago. That guy's head was didn't work out so well for him though. I was watching a YouTube channel where they were saying the 21 million cell phone subscribers disappeared in a month during the COVID-19 outbreak. A 16-year-old died in France today. That's very sad. The New York governor is showing leadership. He's a bit like Rudy Giuliani when he was good. Rudy Giuliani back in 2001. How do you think the virus started? Bat soup, fat food markets, US military, or bioweapon? Some people are saying it started with the wet markets, so these wild animal markets. I don't think that's helping. But we don't know exactly. The Blarney Stone feel like nowadays. I swear to God, I'm a bit of a germ freak, so I actually went to the Blarney Stone many years ago, and I didn't kiss it because I was like, that's disgusting. I'm not kissing that thing. So I faked a kiss on the Blarney Stone. Now this, I was hoping to keep this secret to my grave, but I've broadcast it on YouTube now. Okay, there's a lot of competing conspiracy theories out there now. As soon as we have something, there'll always be a conspiracy theory to follow it. I just want to go through some of the questions that you guys asked. So, Killer asked, the emergency bill rushed through Parliament quicker than dairy swallowed by someone who's lactose intolerant. And any comments on some of the content? How are you getting on with knitting the mankini? And have you got cabin fever yet? Yes, I have cabin fever, Killer. I had it on day 2, I think it was. Homeless families and the elderly given local council TA through Travelodge, then getting turfed out on the street with a few hours notice in the middle of a pandemic. So I didn't know about them being kicked out. I heard that many people were getting so the government in the UK had asked, I don't actually know if this question is from the UK or from the US, but from the UK I read that the government had instructed councils to provide emergency accommodation for homeless people in hotels, I think it was. And I was just thinking, have you got a garden, Max? I have a little garden, very small garden. A little one at the front and a little one at the back. I may take a photo sometime. You could teach the Blarney Stone there too. So people were, I was thinking, in Chelsea, aren't there huge mansions owned by sultans and Russian billionaires, which are sitting empty? Couldn't we put homeless people in those? Maybe they wouldn't be too happy about it, but they're empty. So, can you talk about the discrepancy between what is being said and what is actually being done? Namely, the BBC interview to the Minister of Industry and Trade. I thought the reporter was very good. I thought that was. I'm not sure about that. Excuse me. That interview, Pedro. I'll check out the video maybe later and come back to that question. Please discuss your opinions on the new trend of clapping and cheering. Okay, so we talked about that. Please discuss how financial service companies, banks, continue to make a profit while workers, all types, are under lockdown or have lost their jobs. So yeah, you have the governments bailing out, especially in the US, where you have governments bailing out the banks and financial institutions because they're going to take a hit. I think it was also the casinos were asking for a handout. The casinos. And the best was, I think it was, yes, Boeing. Boeing asked for support from the United States government. So the federal government said, okay, but we may need to buy a stake in it, and we may need to nationalize part of Boeing. And they said, okay, well then we don't want any money from you. So we're desperate, but not that desperate. So yeah, we need help, but we don't want you to nationalize us. No, that would be a disaster for us. We'd prefer to go to the wall than to actually be nationalized. I didn't kiss the Blarney Stone. I tried to kiss. It tried to kiss me. I'm sounding like who's it? What's the name of that guy? My mind is completely fried tonight. The American director, producer, who went in a wheelchair and came out dancing from court. And then he actually turned out to have COVID-19. Donnie accusing Maduro of being a narco-terrorist, forgetting about Oliver North in the CIA to distract Americans from the rocket death total from coronavirus over by Easter. So this is not going to be over by Easter. Donald Trump hopes that things will be open. Now, if he reopened the country, I don't think he will. But then, this is Donald Trump we're talking about, so we can't predict anything he says. Weinstein, thank you guys. So I'm the Weinstein of the Blarney Stone. Or the Blarney Stone is the Weinstein of me, which is it. How mild is mild symptoms? Because what I have seen so far is a nightmare. Not suggesting we exterminate bats though, although it tends to be the human way. Harvey Weinstein. See, the problem so let's say about the bats. The problem is that our population is increasing, and we start to build bigger and bigger cities, so we encroach on natural habitats, where in the past, the bats would be living miles and miles away from us, but now we're encroaching on their habitats. So to say, and the natural, the human response is normally, well, we should just kill all the bats. And then we realize, when we kill all the bats, the mosquito population increased. Then let's kill all the mosquitoes with some chemical. Then we realize, this chemical is killing some other insect or some other animal. Then we try to kill that, and then so we just create a chain effect, and then we don't actually understand the long-term consequences. So we need to find a more balanced approach. We need to find a way where we can live in more harmony with nature. I think that's the only solution, the long-term solution. But we don't tend to think about long-term solution. We think of short-term fixes. But back to Easter. So Donald Trump is considering reopening the country in Easter. I think that's insane. Any fight to limit the virus would just explode if you reopen. And and it's actually happening in Brazil. The president of Brazil is talking about reopening the country again. He said, it's just a hoax. It's not a real virus. It's not serious. He's promoting opening the churches at the moment because he doesn't believe the virus can survive inside churches or something like that. Insanity. And these people are in charge. How C-19 is exposed the incompetent world leaders and governments in the West. Nathan, hi. Welcome to the stream. Yes, because governments always think, and I've talked about this before, and I don't know if this is a good way to respond, of course, but if you look at how China operates as a country, China does not operate on short-term thinking. Everything China does is in the long term. Everything they plan to do is, within the scope of 10, 15 years, 20, 25 years even. While we tend to do things in short bursts. So we have, the government, we have a center-left government for 4 years or 5 years, okay, they work towards completing some policies that they have, that they try to complete within those 4 or 5 years. Then you have a right-wing government who come in and they maybe change something or eliminate something that came before, or they attempt to create something different. And you have these competing ideologies trying to complete something that maybe takes 10, 15 years in the space of 4 or 5 years. And it's one of the costs we have related, one of the costs of democracy. But maybe it's not good for government. I don't know who was it, Churchill who said, you can have government or democracy, good government or good democracy, but not both. And I'm not a fan of China and what they do, but you have to look at, if they need to close down the country, they do it. If they need to implement draconian checks and policies, they do it. There's no problem. We in the West are more, okay, we'll go along with X, Y, and Z, but we have limits here. We'll go on for a certain amount of time. We'll accept a certain amount of restriction. But after that, we will start to complain, grumble, and maybe do something more than that. Which is the best? That's maybe a question we can never really answer. Here's an idea on most Brexiteer channels that the EU is failing and will break up sometime in the near future, although unlikely in my honest opinion. There are a few worrying signs such as the Eurozone and the inability to properly handle the coronavirus. So there has been some criticism about the European Union's response to the coronavirus, and there hasn't been enough cooperation between member states. I think that's because of ingrained nationalistic thinking. The European Union, when it's dealing with benign things, I think the European Union functions quite well. But when you have something like this, you could probably say also, in a situation of a war, it could be, we think about our own population first. And there can be merits in that. Germany is now doing the opposite. It's saying, look, we're taking in French and Italians who are sick, and we're putting our own country at risk because we think it's the right thing to do. I think after this crisis, and I hope that there will be more unity within the European Union, because that's the way we, and it doesn't have to be just the European Union. Unity within the world. If we want to deal with crisis like this, we need to work together for humanity. You can't be an island. You have to be willing to listen to others. We need to work together. China needs to work with the United States. The United States needs to work with the European Union, and all together, then we can deal with these types of issues. Because the virus doesn't say, okay, well, there's a border there I'm not going to cross, or those people voted this way, well, I'm not going to go there. It doesn't work like that. We have to work together. So it doesn't have to be the European Union, but it has to be the world. But it was a good question. An update from Italy would be great, and your thoughts on the UK handling this. So the update from Italy is things are not going very well. We had hoped that we had seen a decline. I was a bit skeptical of the decline, and now it's turned out that it's not a decline, but it's increasing once again. Now, hopefully, we're seeing a plateau, but it's still early days. Lombardy still has most of the cases, but my fear is the south of Italy, where the healthcare system is not up to scratch, and also there are problems of law enforcement. Law enforcement have issues in the south of Italy. You have the problems of the mafia and similar types of groups in the south of Italy who are like a state within the state, and they're going to try and profit from this. They will see every crisis as an opportunity, and I don't know if the Italian state would be able to deal with that. So it's a very serious issue if the numbers in the south of Italy increase. How about Boris and Charlie both getting COVID-19? We have to add, this is 7 hours ago, so we have to add also Matt Hancock. So I think we talked about this. It's update from Italy. We're fact. Opinion UK, we're fact. I think at least in Italy we know the numbers. We see huge numbers and people are worried. I think there's still a lack of fear maybe in the UK, although it's changing. I've seen pictures of people queuing outside supermarkets, maintaining a distance, which is good. Not many people wearing masks. Not because the masks help, but at least the masks show that people are worried. That's why I said before that Boris Johnson, although it would have been too late at this stage, but if Boris Johnson had gone on TV wearing a mask, I think this would have frightened a lot of people. And I don't agree with frightening people just for the sake of frightening them, but frightening them into action to realize, wow, the Prime Minister is wearing a mask. Why is he wearing a mask? Maybe this is a lot more serious than we thought. But we're fact. It's not looking good at the moment. It's important that people don't say, oh, look, in Scotland there are only 25 cases. That's very little, so we're okay. No, it's not. It's just the beginning. Those numbers double every 2 or 3 days. So you have 50, then you have 100, then you have 200, then you have 350. Not exactly double, but pretty close to that. What's your thoughts on the Swedish response? Basically introducing some measures, but not that much in reality. I haven't been following, Matt. I haven't been following the Swedish response. I don't know, so I haven't. I probably best not respond to that because I'm not familiar with it. Do they have a similar? Do they have huge numbers? What is the sort of rate? How long have they been infected? If as far as I know, I saw very few numbers, so the numbers were very low. So maybe they're handling it better. I think it depends on the country also. Sweden is very different to Germany. Germany has huge population centers. Sweden doesn't have large numbers of population centers. So the approach can be different. The same in Ireland. If you look at the numbers in Ireland, most of the cases are, of course, in Dublin. But there are counties where I think they have no cases at the moment. Leitrim, I think, was one of them that has no cases. Now, the population of Leitrim is very, very small, but it's interesting that they have 0 cases. So if they're able to maintain that for a long time, then it helps them a great deal. I know plenty of Swedes that are not happy with their healthcare minister. I knew that UK was in trouble when the health secretary went on TV and said that they'd buy ventilators from anyone at any price. Unprepared much. See, this thing of not having numbers is very frightening. So when a minister is asked, how many do you have? And they can't give you a number. How many have you ordered? They can't give you a number. It's worrying. Especially, if you can't give a number, it means that we don't have any, maybe. Mask, it'd be cool if Boris wore a Bane mask. That would frighten people, but maybe in the wrong way. Okay. Something positive so just back on the questions here. Something positive. Will this change the way the world for the better or make immigration issues tighter? I'm from Northern Ireland, and when it comes to this, there is no border. We're in it together for forget the politics and years of fighting. Yeah, it's a bit similar to what I was saying before about we have to work together for humanity. You know, the virus doesn't care about the border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. We have to cooperate together to defeat this. And this is just one virus. There will be more. You know, what is the cause of this? Globalization, population increases, urban sprawl. These are issues that we're going to continue to have, and we're going to see more and more of these viruses, I think. Some of them we'll be able to control, some of them we won't. Some of them may be serious, some of them may be lesser so, but I don't like to be downbeat, but we have to be realistic. There's going to be a great divide between urban and rural areas on the perception of severity. Trump seems to be counting on this and trying to make it a red state versus blue state thing. Yeah, I think there's going to be this. That's very interesting, Nathan. I think it's going to be, yeah, the cities are the problem. People in the country are, are the ones who didn't get affected. They're the ones who are the true Americans. It was also used as a tool back in 2008 against Obama, wasn't it? What was her name? I'm really suffering on problems with names. Sarah Palin. Sarah Palin said, real America. Yeah, we're from real America. As if cities are not real America. Channeling aid money into red states like Florida. Yeah, I think Trump, this is not below Trump. Trump will attempt to shore up his base. He'll send the ventilators, money, resources to red states, and the blue states will have to beg. It's disgusting, but it's politics. And Trump has a particular type of politics. But it's not going to help them, I don't think. They can get ventilators, they can get resources, but if they don't have the staff, if they don't have the measures put in place, to lock down these places, they're not going to stop the spread, and they're going to turn away people who don't have insurance. This is insane. You have people who don't have insurance will not go to the doctor, not go to hospital. They're going to spread it. But instead of convincing people to go and say, look, you don't have to pay, we want you to go to the hospital so that we can deal with this problem. No, we'd prefer our model which is profit based, which will eventually collapse in the end, because the virus doesn't care. Once again, will this delay climate change? Terry, I don't understand delay climate change as in affect climate change or delay our action towards it. If you mean delay, it is actually having an effect on climate change. CO2 numbers have gone down a great deal. I think 25% in some. I don't know if you've seen the maps of China's pollution. It hasn't been so pollution free in China for 30 or 40 years. Which is a good thing, because a lot of people, hundreds of thousands of people die per year because of pollution. Okay, we're having people dying from this as well. But, pollution is a huge killer and we're not doing anything about it. We're doing a huge amount to deal with this problem, but pollution, for example, we're doing... What does Kyle Kalinske say? Dizzy might dedax or something like that. I'd like to know if the farmers of Europe can still plant the crops we need to feed us. Yeah, this is a problem as well. Are you able to get the staff to work on the farms? Are you able to work on the farms? Do you have to maintain distancing? Are there checks? Can you get the drivers to deliver the goods to the supermarkets? There is a lot of issues here. If public transport has been cancelled in some places, how do the workers get to the fields? Not all of them have their own vehicles. Greta Thunberg is unsure how to react, allegedly. India is a massive worry as well. Yeah, India. because they don't have the resources to deal with it. They have so many people, and then many people living in crowded areas. The virus adores that. A virus with more severe mortality could have arisen. Hopefully this one makes us all take notice. We Scots Dog, we tend to, the day after the virus has gone away, we're on to different problems. Brexit again, for example. We'll get back to Brexit. We say, okay, the virus is gone, everything's hunky-dory now. Now let's get back to the real issues, like does Donald Trump really dye his hair, or is Nigel Farage going to be the next Prime Minister? People worry about the quarantine affects the economy, but won't accept that it's fracked either way. We're going to move into a new world here. So as I said before, employers are able to monitor their staff much easier. They're able to control everything that they do using, remote working. We always thought remote working would be fantastic. I can stay at home. I can get up when I want. I can do what I want. I can take it easy, work the hours that I need. But it's not going to be like that, unfortunately. Farm working are allowed to work. Farm workers are allowed to work, and drivers are allowed to work as well. I know a farmer and truck drivers. I guess because of the supply chains, they're necessary at the moment. So they're key workers. I think after all of this, there should be reinstated again. On a plus side, thanks to the lockdown, my city of 200,000 actually smells like the countryside now. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. Jan Ere. Where are you from? What city are you talking about? Colin, if and when the virus ebbs, we will have to count the cost, which will make the banking crash look like small change. Yes. Do you think that the pandemic will change our practices around food and how we source it, particularly in reference to wild animals? I think there were talk in Vietnam. They have banned the live animal markets, so that's already changing. So I think once things are banned, it's difficult to bring them back in again. So I think things will change, yes. But it's going to be a while. Of course, some people will say, no, well, we're over it now, let's go back to normal. But I think we're going to see a new normal. Ireland locked down from 12 tonight. Was Ireland not already locked down? What chance of a depression, or will it be allowed by big business? No, there is a depression coming, and big business can do what they want, but they're not going to stop it. Brexit, all of the are not important question. The one is calendar. This damn calendar. I miss Brexit too. It was much more fun, but I have no fear Boris will get it done, or Rab, or Gove, or Gove. No, Gove looks okay, but Dominic Raab doesn't look very well. I saw him coughing on TV recently. I think when Boris Johnson was doing PMQs, I saw Dominic Raab coughing in the background. Maybe it was nervous coughing, but a post on Facebook thinking maybe we are the virus and COVID-19 is the cure. If you watch, you can see the impact of less pollution from satellites. There's a certain amount of truth in that, but at the moment I don't think it's the type of message that we should be spreading. We need to, because many people are dying, and it's viewed in a very negative way, of course. But I think there is some truth to that. We need to change the way. Cove looks okay when I should say healthy. Brexit calendar. This damn calendar. Okay. Change of subject. Um, Only one would very much appreciate if one could make a few jokes at the old Chucky account. I told him that he would never see the throne. Charlie, okay, after the whole Camilla debacle, and now the old git has coronavirus. Serves him right. Probably caught it at one of his serving girls. That's more Andrew than Charles, I think. Also, one rather thinks that Mr. Johnson is making us all look like himself. That is to say, a complete bunch of buffoons. I feel sorry for Prince Charles because he's not a bad guy. Why did Charles get it and not Andrew? Andrew is more deserving, but Charles is. I don't know if you've seen I think it was Comic Relief. It was about 10 years ago. It was a Blackadder version of Comic Relief where they had Charles the First, but they had him in the style of Prince Charles. So he spoke in exactly the same way. It was hilarious, and he was being beheaded. And he said, "Yeah, it's good to reach out to young people and provide opportunities for them. And if they have to behead me, that is fantastic." It's very, very funny. I recommend you see it. Did you see this celebrity singing Imagine singing about no heaven right now? And it's been a communist song. I think it's a very bad taste. No, I haven't seen that. Full lockdown now. Over 70s not allowed out now. No gatherings of any number, and can't travel more than 2 kilometers from your home. That's in Ireland. Wow, because my dad is 80. He's 80 this year, and he hasn't. He lives alone, and my sister lives more than 2 kilometers from him. So he's self-sufficient. He doesn't need help around the house, but he likes to be in his own home. He doesn't like to be on his own. So I'll have to speak to him about that. But I understand it. I think these celebrities using the virus for media attention is very inappropriate. My career is collapsing, is failing. I should do a song about coronavirus. But maybe I should get a test first. Was Matt Hancock telling most people to stay home from work, and has the government actually... sorry, can you cover how you're doing, Max? MA asked. I'm doing fine, as you guys probably know. Sandra is patient zero. Mark Franks, good night. Have a good one. Have a great night, and keep safe. Keep away from any viruses. The plan in Germany is to switch from nationwide social distancing to case-by-case isolation somewhere at the end of April. That's good. To continue shuffling papers, and for what? All we need is food, a roof, a bed, and for other things like the internet. Can't give up that yet. How can you cover what you're doing? So I talked about this before. My routine is quite boring. I'm cleaning the house piecemeal. I joked about it with my wife today. We should do everything at, when you have the YouTube video and you put the speed at 0.75. That's the way you should do everything around the house now. At 3/4 the speed. Max, did you not know Prince Charles was very good friends with Sir Jimmy Savile, and he was his marriage counsellor when he was with Prince? I didn't know that. Jimmy Savile is a marriage counsellor, but although Jimmy Savile was friends with a lot of people, because he was so famous, he was so important, allegedly. Charles is a conservation and organic food advocate. He's an easy target for people. However, he had a great love for the goons. I care for my mother and father, Max. Carers are okay to travel more than 2 kilometers, but over 70s are supposed to self-isolate. I don't know how they would police it, to be honest. Especially, I think in the country it's going to be very difficult. But I understand the requirement, because they are the risky group. Spitting Image needs to hurry up and come down during lockdown. Yes. Okay, next point is, if COVID hits the royals and something bad happens, how do you think it will impact Boris's government, considering their initial strategy of letting it loose? So if the royals get affected, well, we've had Charles affected. If the Queen was affected, that would be extremely serious. And we have Boris affected and Matt Hancock affected. So the government is impacted quite a lot at the moment. But I don't think the strategy at the moment is letting it loose, is attempting to control it. So they're attempting to balance the numbers. So there is this idea that they're attempting to balance the numbers of infected with how many they take in and how many the NHS can deal with. But I think without the testing, it's very difficult, because people will start to feel sick. They'll call 999. The responders will tell them that, look, you need to, you're probably not sick or whatever, you just need to wait. Then the symptoms will get worse and people will go to the hospital. And when they arrive at the hospital, they have to be treated. Sorry. Max, are there any videos of you singing Irish songs on your Italian balcony that we can look at? Mart G 123. I wouldn't inflict that upon anyone. But I may ask my wife to sing a song. She's a very good singer and she loves singing Irish songs. So if you like, I could record her for you guys as a gift, a little gift. Also Scottish songs. She loves some Scottish songs, so she might sing a Scottish song or two. Maxie was very good friends with Prince Charles and had Christmas dinner every year. PM Thatcher. Yeah. The world that he had built, Jimmy Savile, was disgusting. What he was able to get away with because of who he was. Many big and famous names have had it as soon as we should have a death of someone famous. Aside from the economic and health issues do you anticipate that it will have a political impacts, crypto-fascists in Brazil or the US using the crisis shock doctrine? I think politicians are using it as an opportunity. Good night, Sloncha. IFC. Take good care of yourself too. Yeah, I think you can see in Brazil, Bolsonaro is telling people, his supporters, to go out and go back to work. And that's what people want to hear. Some people just say, look, I'm sick of staying at home. I want to go back to work. I feel fine. I'm not sick. And, for some people, they want someone to tell them, yeah, go, it's okay. Don't worry. You'll be fine. And maybe he hopes that it won't have as much of an impact, because he must know. He's been given the data. He's been given the expert advice. And he can't just say, well, I don't believe you, I don't believe you. So he's taking a risk. And he wants his supporters to go out on the streets, and this will perhaps improve his standing, because at the moment he's losing support by the day. So he has to do something. If he does nothing, his support is going to continue to drop. He'll become weaker, and then he'll eventually have to resign. So I think, yeah, many politicians who are in a dangerous position will attempt to use this. And Trump is another example. Trump is talking about, yeah, sending everyone back to work around Easter. Insanity, but I wouldn't put it past him. But then there'll be a fight between him and the governors. And it'll be interesting to see who will the people back. You know, if people at the moment would probably back the governors. They say, look, this is a serious problem. But if the numbers are controlled, there's a lot of different dynamics at work. If you have the numbers somewhat controlled, yes, please do leave a like, guys. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Glasgow Kiss. If the numbers are controlled and you don't see a huge spike, people will become complacent and they say, look, this isn't a big issue. Maybe we can go back to work. And the president said, yeah, you can go back to work. Who are you going to listen to? You're going to listen to the person who's telling you what you want to hear, or are you going to listen to the one who's providing an inconvenient truth? And when the election comes around and everything's okay, this is a hypothetical, or seem okay, you're going to support Trump again. So I think certain politicians are making calculated risks. I think they're making big mistakes. And also it's sad that they're playing with people's lives, because whatever happens, they'll probably be okay. They have the resources to keep them safe and alive. But the average person doesn't. To Pictures Like Globe 2016, the story begins. Prince Charles' secret gay life has been blown wide open by shocking photos of lovesick Ryle in a sizzling lip lock with a toy. When is that from? Thank you, Glasgow Kiss. Yes, if you would like to support the stream, support the channel, because YouTube has demonetized me, kicked me off, you can send a donation. Anything is greatly appreciated. Thanks. Los Angeles Times editorial. Coronavirus whack-a-mole isn't working. It's time for a national shutdown. Yeah, it should have happened weeks ago. But there isn't the political will, and Donald Trump, apologies, Donald Trump is not interested, because Donald Trump is looking out for Donald Trump. Savile was worse than Weinstein. Yeah, I definitely think so, because they both abused their power, but Savile was doing it with children, while Weinstein was doing it with adults who wanted to improve their position in Hollywood. It's still abuse, but I don't like putting things on a scale. Night Raven, I don't know the reason why I've been demonetized. They say that it's because I think it's because of that terrible mathematics video. I think that was the problem, because I had removed the video and then I uploaded it again, because it happened I think it was a day after that, or a couple of days after that. The only states seemed to wake up once Tom Hanks went down with it, and now Trump has lost patience with having to stay indoors for 3 days. Trump is only interested in the Dow. The Mankini, okay. Changing the subject once again. Boris getting C19, so we talked about that. Ho, ho, ho. Bojo, Brian McAdam. Bojo on the virus, will he be getting the same care as the NHS care? Of course not. Someone made a very interesting comment. At least his children, at least Boris Johnson's children will be safe because he doesn't know where they are. He won't have any contact with them. So Boris Johnson will not be getting the same treatment. Like a dog with a bone. Hindley worse than Savile. Let's all give a hand to Texas Lieutenant Governor who believes that we will be willing to sacrifice ourselves for the economy. I saw that video, yes, Night Raven, where he was, yeah, you know, old people would prefer to die for the economy. We need to sacrifice ourselves for the economy. But it's not even for the economy, it's for the Dow Jones, so the Dow Jones can go up a few points in the day and then it'll drop down another few points the following day. It's insane. But my problem with these people is, do they actually believe that? Or are they just saying it to get attention or to maintain support with their followers? I don't know. Martin Brady, hi, is a psychopath. Max, you won't believe it. Leo quotes from the Terminator in his speech tonight. Oh, we're on full lockdown now for 2 weeks. Double guitars. What did he say? How did he quote from the I'll be back in 2 weeks or something? Let's think about how many grandmas we would sacrifice to save 10% on the Dow Jones. It's only old, poor people who would be sacrificed. The Texas governor wouldn't have. Now, he would be okay. The title for the month would be Max Mankini or my kind of man. I actually have a kilt. Would you guys believe? I actually got a real 5-yard kilt. Haha, bet you didn't know that. Hasta la vista. No, he said hasta la vista. No fate, but what we make. No. That's what all politicians should do. They should quote parts of movies. So, you know, Trump could be, I am the Senate, like Emperor Palpatine or something. Anyway, okay, I'll go back to what Tartan. Yeah, Tartan. I don't remember the clan. There was a certain clan collar. I bought it a couple of years ago. Irish traditionally wear kilts too, but it's not the modern kilt. It's medieval. But no, they didn't have kilts in the medieval time. But it's the style from the 1700s. So it's not the new kilt. It's the 1700s style kilt. Next, you do a speech for Independence Day. Andrew Mark says, Andrew, have you got rid of those children yet in your basement? No, I don't understand that. Yeah, get rid of. Okay, they're responding to this image. Okay, have you got rid of the children from the basement? Um, get rid of that old bag from as a thumbnail. Um, Yana Key says, and you talk about the U.S. media boycotting Trump's daily briefings because of his high approval ratings on dealing with the. Okay. Um, I think there is an attempt to boycott Trump not because of his high approval ratings, but because he's talking crap. He's telling people once. First, he talked about it being a hoax. Then it was a Democratic scam, or it was something the Democrats, an impeachment tool by the Democrats. Then he was saying how it would be, the numbers were going down, the numbers will go to zero. I think the best thing the media can do is ignore Trump. Starve him of oxygen, because that's what he wants. That's what he thrives on his attention. Look, I don't agree with taking away people's freedom of expression, but can you imagine if Trump had Twitter disabled? Someone hacked into Twitter and disabled Trump's account. How the world would be better off. He would have to do press conferences instead. And if the media said, we're not going to listen to you, what would he do? I'm not a big fan of that, but what's the value? What value does Trump provide? Just go back to the chat for a moment. Hanny says Bosch creates coronavirus test machine that can diagnose disease in just 2.5 hours. Wow. Still defend Trump. It's very scary and frustrating. Makes me sad to see. QA Library. I'm aspergic and share many of your frustrations for what it's worth. I've always enjoyed your comments and posts. QA Library is a saint. He provides me with so much material, so many corrections on some of the things I say, and so much information that many people don't have access to. Any chance of a midweek stream during the lockdown? I'm really looking into it. I have some problems with my internet connection. So when I did the first streams, I had a lot of technical issues because the internet connection was too slow. For the upload, so I started using my mobile connection instead. But I have data limits, so I'm looking at getting another SIM so I can increase the data, because I can't actually get fiber internet where I live. We're too remote. We're too prehistoric. So I can't get fiber. I'd love to get fiber so I could have a dedicated line, and I do a lot more live streams, but I'm a bit limited to the amount of data I have. So I'm looking into doing some more live streams because I really enjoy them. Is yours born leather or fur? I can't tell. It's a secret. Max, how about a tour of your town? Oh, wait. What value does Trump provide? Brought a smile to my face. Any chance of a live prank call? Do you remember the Jerky Boys? That was very funny. From the 90s, the Jerky Boys. I don't know if you ever heard of them. What about a video stream with the video looking out of the window? I might do that. That would be interesting. But from my window, you're not going to see very much. You just see a house and nothing happening. I could take a photo and it would be the same. But I can probably work something out. Yes, we can try and do that. Mugshot, what do you look like? You haven't seen me. I may still have a video up on YouTube with me talking. I did an experiment where I had a mugshot view, but many people said, no, I prefer not seeing your ugly mug. What about... so even though Trump has a polling bump, he's still near the bottom as far as the world leaders get a bump. Macron is about the only major leader with a lower crisis. I think Trump is doing well at the moment because the crisis hasn't really started. It has started, but the political impact is still, a few weeks away. And when you start to see hospitals filling up, governors begging him for help and him not providing it, you're going to see many people go, maybe he's not the right person to be in charge. Gonna check out the Real Radio Wind Ups Max. Real Radio, no, I don't. Real Radio Wind Ups. What am I reading? You could potentially use a remote desktop on a good connection and live stream and have your voice to it. It's technical, but not incredibly so. Okay, that's interesting. They should let Trump do one of those live streams. That would be out. Can you imagine? The ones like Joe Biden. Max his calendar center full material. Not since my boob job. I need to find the receipt. It's about using things like rights and argue against rights. It's just a form of trolling. Max definitely has a face for video as opposed to radio only. Okay, let's go to the next comment on the channel. So it says here, exit strategy. The problem I see that once a country decides to enforce a tough measure of isolation, etc., which most countries have done, then there is no way out. Unless a virus goes away completely or a vaccine becomes widely available, then you can't so easily reverse the process. You can easily say, we give up, let's go back to normal life regardless, or you can stay in lockdown for a determined period of time. Thoughts? So, Sem Priest. That's an interesting comment. So, I think instead we're going to go into a gradual semi-lockdown process. So I think we're going to see, supermarkets are the only ones open, chemists pharmacies are the only ones open. Then we'll probably increase it to, for example, here in Italy we have the pharmacy, only one person can enter at a time. They may increase that to 5 people per time or 4 people, and eventually they say, okay, people can enter as they wish. I think it'll be done in stages, but I hope that we're going to maintain a certain amount of control, at least for a year, until we're completely sure there are no more cases. Because the problem is that as cases are dealt with in different countries, they're springing up in other places. So a year from now, there could be a country in Africa or in Asia or in South America that isn't affected now but will be affected later. We'll have to lock down people coming from those countries, or control people who have gone to those countries. Hairdressers are open. Bloody hairdressers. Why? I think hairdressers are open. I was asking the same question. Why are hairdressers open? I think they're open for some people who are disabled and they can't cut or wash their hair themselves. So it's for hygienic reasons. But it's not I don't know. It should be something reconsidered. Trump livestream, great number, stock market down. Obama birth certificates, bad people badly. Yeah, that'd be he's comedy that writes itself. Poorer people having more money to buy food and pay rent. Lord forbid. In Norway, we used a program that could break Wi-Fi codes. When Brexit finally arrives, the food riots will be less impressive than those. Starve him of oxygen. That's what COVID does to you. Yes. My car died was midway through buying a new car. Ford shut down now. I have to cycle to work 36 miles round trip. Well, at least you're getting fit, Patrick. I know a mobile hairdresser who is still working. Are the building sites still open in the UK? Global pandemic. Still need my Barnet cut. Can you really see shops closing for a year? No. I think the shops will open again, but they'll probably say, look, maximum 5 people, maximum 4 people. I think that would be a sensible approach. In China, when you entered shops or supermarkets or any building, you would have your temperature checked. So someone would have to check your temperature. Would they do it here? I don't know. It sounds like a lot of work. Some are, some not. Some building sites are open. I think, as I said, the problem with the building sites is many people are have to work. They're self-employed, or if they don't complete the work, they won't get paid, or they'll be sued for breach of contract. Witherspoons and Next will be boycotted by me. These situation surrounding Witherspoons is just completely disgusting. So they're not paying their staff. The CEO or the owner, I don't remember which he is, Martin, telling people, I'm not going to go to Tesco if you want to get paid. I hope he doesn't get the virus. Obama is PO. He brought the coronavirus from Kenya in 1965, common knowledge. People are saying, that's what Trump always says. Yeah, they're saying this, they're saying that. He never says who these people are or where he got the information, but it's people are saying I'm the best president in the world, yeah. One saving grace is for all this Belgium, that wine stores are classified as grocery stores. Yes, thank God for that. I can buy wine in the supermarket and I don't have to go to a special off license or something like that. There will be food shortage by winter. UK needs 60,000. Who is not coming? France needs 200,000. What about Spain and Italy? I don't think there'll be a food shortage. I think we're doing quite well at the moment. I want to show you guys a video I saw today, so just bear with me for a moment. Let me see.
We have it under control. It's going to be...
I have this interesting video to show you guys. We can watch it together.
we have it under control. It's going to be just fine. I am official.
Just turn down the sound a little bit. So here is Trump describing how his approach has changed, or let's see how Trump's approach has changed over the last number of months.
And we have it under control. It's going to be just fine.
So on the 22nd of January, got sound. Can you guys hear the video? Because I can hear it fine, but I don't know if you can hear it. Got sound. Okay.
I am officially declaring a national emergency.
So we can't see. So this is I think it's the 9th of the 3rd, so the 9th of March. Nothing is shut down. Life and economy goes on. Okay.
It's a very contagious virus. It's incredible. Looks like by April, in theory, when it gets a little warmer, it miraculously goes away. I hope that's true.
It looks like, so this is his way of providing information that nobody is sure about, but he presents it in a way that, well, it's probably the case that when the temperature increases, but we don't know that. There's no evidence to support that. But he broadcasts this message in a way that he's like upbeat. Yeah, everything will be okay. Once the temperature increases, it'll go away like a normal flu. But we have no evidence to support that.
It's going to disappear. One day it's like a miracle. It will disappear.
It will disappear. Like a miracle. Which is it a miracle, or it will really disappear? So the 24th of February stock market is starting to look very good to me. What he always says, the stock market is looking good. If the stock market is going up, it's because he's doing a good job. If the stock market goes down, it's not because of him, it's because of something else.
We think we have it very well under control. We have very little problem in this country at this moment, 5.
And this is the problem. People look at a small number. He's saying 5, and we only have 5 cases. Yes, but it's exponential. What was it? Someone had said, take 30 steps from your home. Out your door, walk 30 steps. You arrive maybe at your car, you arrive halfway down the street. Depends on, it's a short distance, okay? But that's 30 linear steps. Take 30 steps. I lost the train of thought. I'm like Joe Biden. Exponential steps. You'll arrive, was it 100,000 kilometers from where you started from? You'll arrive halfway to the moon, or you'll arrive at the moon at that stage. So it's a completely different kettle of fish we're dealing with. So 5, yeah, it's a small number, but it will grow. You have seen it in China. It's happening everywhere. See, sorry, and another thing is that I'm not an expert. I'm not surrounded by experts. I'm not receiving information from experts. Donald Trump has the best people around him explaining to him, yes, this number is small, but it's going to increase dramatically. We have models, we have data to show you this.
I've always known this is a pandemic. Certainly we didn't get an early run on it. It would have been helpful if we knew about it earlier. Much better.
if we knew about it earlier? You've been talking about it since January.
Better if we had known about this a number of months earlier.
But we're working very closely with China and other countries, and we think it's going to have a very good ending for us. So that I can.
A very good ending. My God, you know what the ending is going to be, Donny boy? It's going to be probably 1 million people dead. You're going to, like, in the state of New York alone, if they don't implement a complete lockdown, they're looking at maybe 100,000 or 200,000 dead at the end of this. So it's in New York. And then you have California, the same. You have Louisiana, I think, is a black spot at the moment as well. There's serious issues there also.
Assure you.
We are coordinating with the Chinese government and working.
Sorry. We Scott Stuggs is Trump an arcist. Sorry guys. We shouldn't be laughing at this. This is serious. I think Trump is so desperate he's based the warm weather hypothesis on lower temperatures, lower rates in Africa, but that is probably because wealthy have gotten the virus earlier because of international travel. Yes. And even if the number... There are certain things that we can look at which may be positives and negatives in Africa. Africa doesn't have the huge population centres that we have in Europe, which may help Africa. But the other side of the coin is that the problem is that we lost Max. No, I'm back. The other side is that you don't have the healthcare provisions available in Africa that we do have in. Max is having breathing difficulties. You guys crack me up every time. But in Africa, they don't have the resources, they don't have the facilities to deal with this. So you may see a different type of outbreak taking place in Africa. For example, I'm very worried about South America, Brazil, for example, where you have the leader of the country telling people to go back to work. You have a massive population there, and you have people being given bad advice. In the 1990s, South Africa had the most signs asking people not to flush banknotes. As to why do people flush banknotes? Okay, as the $1,000 note with neighboring Zimbabwe was cheaper than a piece of toilet paper. Okay. Max, rethink the lack of population centres theory in Africa. Would it be the Nigeria, for example? But I'm thinking of the... you're probably right, yes. It was a bad suggestion. But there is much... The population centres are more... they're more, how can I say... they're less connected than we have. It's much more difficult to travel between them than it is here in Europe, I think. The amount of traffic flowing between the population centres is less than we have here in Europe. My respiratory therapist, I've been in total isolation since March 1st. Croydon release syndrome took me off the record. They expected deaths in Canada likely 250,000 plus, even with social distancing. Stay safe, Blue Penguin. But at least in Canada, they're not telling people that at Easter you'll be able to go back to work. Drink a beer each time you hear the word corona.
Working closely together on the coronavirus outbreak.
Why are you giving Trump such a hard time and not China or the EU for keeping the borders open? Because at least the countries, at least China, locked down and dealt with it. They didn't ignore it. In Europe, we're not ignoring it. We're dealing with it. Has our way of dealing with it been perfect? Of course not. The European Union is not a dictatorship. It's a collection of countries, and each of these countries have their own way of dealing with situations. Is it perfect? No, it's not. But I think we have to work together. And we have to work with the United States. But Donald Trump doesn't seem to want to work with anyone. He sees this as a distraction. He sees this as a problem for him. He's not interested in dealing with this outbreak, how it's going to affect ordinary people. He never has. He's never cared about ordinary people. I don't understand people who support him. Support him for what? What has he done for ordinary people? What is he doing for ordinary people? He's there to enrich himself, to improve his own standing, to fill the pockets of his family and his friends.
In China.
They're working really hard, and I think they're doing a very professional job.
Okay. Sky News YouTube claimed one of the government's key advisors hazarded a guess at between half and 2/3 of those dying would probably have done so anyway of underlying disease. Donald Trump realizing that he can't cheat at pandemics. No, he can tweet at people, make them go away using his tweets or using the military, but he can't defeat this virus by outsmarting it. It doesn't work like that. This isn't the video I wanted to show you guys, but okay. Back to the stream. So actually in about 5 minutes, or almost 3 hours, so in about 5 minutes I need to close down the stream, unfortunately. But it's always a pleasure with you guys. At least in EU we have only... I can only speak for Ireland. We've always took this seriously from the start. There's been no denial from the government about the situation. How did it get out of hand? So out of hand in Italy. I think that because we weren't prepared, I think there was this idea that okay, it's in China, but we don't really have to worry about it. There's nothing here. And it sort of exploded. Really, it happened very, very quickly. Good night, Andrew. It happened really, really quickly in this town, Conlado, I think was the name. It's near Bergamo, which is near Milan. So Bergamo is a town, a small city between where I am and Milan. It's a bit closer to Milan than halfway. Anyway, but there's this smaller town near that, and this guy came back. As far as I know, he came back from China, and he brought it with him. And he had he didn't have any symptoms at the time, but then he started to show symptoms, and then it exploded. He made contact with a lot of people. Then it spread from that. But it happened very, very quickly. So I remember on the Monday, there was the issue regarding this town where there was the infection, and the following Monday we were beginning the lockdown. So within a week, we saw a huge number of cases. Good night, Blue Penguin. Stay safe. I hope everything's going well for you now. But be careful, especially if you have some health issues. Thanks for coming on the stream. So it exploded really very quickly, and then I think because there weren't testing taking place, we just saw numbers coming in. So what happened probably was people were getting sick and they were not going to the hospital, or they were going to the hospital very late when they were already in a serious condition. But they're still not sure exactly how it all started. But later on, when this thing dies down, probably I'll make a video about how it all started. I'd like to do a sort of investigation on it. I also would like to interview some people. It's impossible now, but some staff who've been in the hospitals. I'd like to speak to some people who worked in the hospitals and what it was like for them. And unfortunately, we've lost a lot of people. There are 40 very experienced doctors who've died so far in Milan, in Lombardy. Okay. To cut a long story short, my argument was that Trump would be a disaster in a disaster. I rest my case. Bloody iPad. I remember Sam Harris saying that he would prefer to have anyone before Trump won, or just after Trump won. He said, I prefer to have anyone but Trump, because a normal person would feel the weight of responsibility and they would reach out to experts to help get through it. But Trump has this level of arrogance that he doesn't give a crap. He doesn't care about experts. He doesn't care about people who would contradict what he has to say. Like, normal people would feel the responsibility of being president as something, I need to do a good job. Trump is not interested in that. That's why he's so dangerous. Meatloaf predicted this. He saw the bat out of hell. Like a bat out of hell. Do 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 do. I don't remember the lyrics. See, that's why I shouldn't sing. Principality Stadium to be turned into a huge 2,000-bed hospital to help fight against coronavirus. The Welsh Rugby Union has made the stadium available. That's fantastic. I think there's some great things happening in the UK. There's a lot of charities, a lot of hospitals being built at the last minute. This is great. I just hope that there are the staff to work in them, and I hope 2,000 bed is enough, because we saw here in Italy that tens of thousands of infected. So I really hope that there is enough to deal with it, and I hope that there will be a lesson learned from this, that the NHS is not to be put up for sale, and it should be something that's supported by the state, and they should be given whatever they need at any time. I've always said before that what's the point in having a government if it doesn't look after the health and the education? Education is also important, but the health of its citizens. What's the point in having a government if it doesn't do that? What's the point of us paying taxes if the government doesn't look after us? If you are the 1%, Trump is doing a great job. Yeah, the stock market is going up. I can make a few quid. Oh, the stock market is going down. Now I can sell my shares and make another killing. Ordinary people. See, this is the thing as well in the United States. They judge how well the economy is doing by the stock market. But most of the people, the majority of people don't have stock. They live paycheck to paycheck. So why is the value in the stock market a barometer of the economy? It's a ridiculous barometer. It's completely useless to judging whether people's lives are improving or not. Some people are making a lot of money, but those people already have a lot of money. Who's going to join the chat on Facebook for the 700th anniversary of the Declaration of Arbroath on the 4th of April? Since the Indy marches are a no-no, it's been organised on Roundtable 1320 page. I didn't know about that. I must check that out. $350,000 a week to the NHS now, so Boris should be fine. What about all of these? Was it 700,000 people signed up as volunteers for the NHS? I think that's fantastic news. But of course, what are they going to do? And who's going to vet them? I think it's important that these people are vetted, that, you know, so that there are not people who have, you know, people like Prince Andrew are not involved, or Jimmy Savile, or someone like him, because it'd be very easy for those people to get involved if there's no vetting process. So I think it's important that there are people, and I think most of the jobs they're going to do are not on the front line, you know, they're not medical positions, so they're people who will be carrying food and supplies to elderly people or people who may be infected. I think it's important that these people, I think this is a fantastic way for British people to express, look, I want to help, and this is something that could be very useful and a great support for the NHS, because they need support. Deliveries and calls to people, and many people need that, especially older people. But I think I hope it's something that continues after this crisis, so that people don't just say, okay, we've done it, now we go back to our normal life. No, older people need support. You know, people with disabilities need a small helping hand from time to time. Max, please watch Stefan Molyneux. Very interesting. Let us know what you think. Isn't Stefan Molyneux a bit of a tinfoil hat guy? Steve C, thank you for another great live stream. Thank you very much, Steve C. I don't have Facebook either. Useless, crappy social media. More harmful than... I used to be on Facebook, but I don't really bother that much now. Okay, I'll give another 5 minutes. I said that 10 minutes ago, so gone over time, but I love doing the stream, so I'll just give it another 5 minutes and then I'll have to log off, guys. I remember the clocks go forward tomorrow or tonight or now. I don't remember what time. Normally at 5 in the morning or something. He's a fruitcake. Yeah, I think Facebook groups are good for organizing events and having a bit of a debate, but Molyneux is a far-right conspiracy theorist. Avoid. Is a nutter. Up there with Alex Jones. I heard that he was banned from Twitter, no? Molyneux. It won't last when the younger people find out that the older people they're helping voted for Brexit. The older people better keep their mouths shut, probably. Mortality trajectories, UK has more dead at this stage than any other country except Spain and Italy. US is now tracking more deaths than China, Iran, could soon pass France. Once again, thanks for your efforts, Max. Thanks for you guys for coming on the stream. It's always a pleasure. Hey, thought I was the only one that doesn't like Facebook. No, you're not the only one. I really hope that the figures that the UK is putting out are not massaged. They're not fiddled with, because it's strange that they're releasing numbers before the end of the day. Now, I don't know if that's standard procedure, but we're seeing numbers. Or they were talking about how they were calculating it on half days or full days. I didn't understand that well, but I hope they're not massaging the numbers, because we need to see the real numbers and to deal with the crisis. Because if people think it's not serious, then they're not going to, follow through with the lockdown, with the procedures that are necessary. Thanks for doing the live stream. Thank you, Double Guitars. Have you been tested, Max? No, I haven't. I'm not. I told you I'm not a celebrity or a politician. The last message I sent, the graphic message on Twitter. Okay, thanks a lot. Jesus, imagine if Boris actually died from this. I think it would create a crisis. Dominic Raab would be in charge, but it would be a shock for the country, I think. But I don't think Boris is at any risk, unless he has some serious health issues that we don't know about. He is overweight, but I don't know if he has any breathing problems or any underlying issues. My family are all recently retired medics and are worried about not getting proper PPE when they're called back up. They're also getting older. It's worrying. Yeah, I think the main issue at the moment should be protect the proper materials and proper protection for all staff, and especially ones who are older ones coming back, because they're higher risk. I really hope that they're not. No, I don't want to say that, but okay, I don't want to get into conspiracy theory. No. Maybe Boris could ban the world the world coronavirus, like Brexit. Go away. We just don't talk about it anymore. It's like the calendar. If we don't talk about it, we don't have to deal with it. You may have to join the NBA and get a test, Max. I have a few problems joining the NBA. Height would be one issue, and fitness would be another issue. Obesity, heart disease, diabetes, who knows? Blue Penguin, thank you very much. Blue Penguin, I don't know if you're still on the stream. Thank you very much. I think you still are. Thank you so much for that donation. You're very kind. Please, guys, if you're able to give a donation, good. If you can't, I want you to think about yourself first, okay? I don't want anyone giving me money when you're in a financial tight spot, okay? It's only if it's possible. Maybe the COVID-19 get calendar done. I'm feeling more and more guilty about this damn calendar. I need to get a blue screen, because I can't go outside. That's the problem. I need a green screen or blue screen to put a background. So I could have... I'm imagining now what type of calendar so we can have Edinburgh Castle for my Scottish friends. We could have Big Ben in the background for my English friends. We have the Giant's Causeway for for the Northern Ireland friends. We could have Trump Tower for the Americans on the stream. Thank you so much, Blue Penguin. You're very kind. PayPal took a while to, yeah, many people were saying PayPal has some issues on the, when you try to connect. It takes, also when I sometimes try to connect to PayPal myself and it takes a while. I don't know why. Maybe there's a lot of traffic at the moment. Stefan Molyneux is a good guy. When people are say someone is far right, it's a ploy to stop them from do a Mankini calendar. The wall for our Mexican friends. Don't forget the Bojo toilet paper COVID edition. You must have a leaning tower of Pisa. Oh yes. I could go to Venice now, but I'd be probably it would be a in chains version. I'd be arrested by the police, the carabinieri, on the way over. So no, I'm making a calendar. It's important. Okay, guys, it's Big Ben, Trump Tower, stop. When it's all over, they'll have to reset the economy. Yes. We're going to see a new economy, I think. Big Ben does not invoke much love for those in the north or west. Then the Angel of the North. So I'll have to find an image of the Angel of the North. Mankini gondola. Guys, Mankini is probably the worst thing anyone could ever wear. Apart from those ones that I saw some years ago. It's like a small... What is it? It's like a shell type shaped thing that people were wearing. Without any sides. Leaning Tower of Pisa. Sell the calendar with a Leroy. Okay, guys, I have to end the stream now. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on the stream. Thanks for all your comments. Thanks for all your donations. It's been fantastic. I love you guys. So I'm going to look into perhaps doing another stream during the week also, but I'll probably post something on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, you'll see something from me. Mankini's horrible, don't do it. Yes, Louis Lou said not to do the Mankini, so I'm sorry guys, I can't do it. So it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Have a great night and stay safe wherever you are, and keep away from viruses and dodgy politicians who have a cough. Okay, take it easy guys. See you next time.